Tommy Fury says Jake Paul is lucky I wasn't in there instead of Woodley. Unbelievable. Let's talk.
Push the weight in no flex. Flex alive is one in the six. Fit the runner, boy, you nigga, no question. You will run a motherfucker high stepping. Hey, you never had a big enough weapon. Motherfucker never learned your lesson. I'm a 88 pack nigga. I'm a 88 pack nigga. I mean, day walker, drink blood, fangs out, full moon, motherfucker change like a hoe, nigga. I'm just a nigga from the hood trying to stack a little cheddar for the money.
Drew Titan, Bronx on deck. Shout out to the mighty LDBC. Oh, man. You know what? I don't even know why I'm doing this. I guess because Jake Paul is in it. It's news. So, whatever. Let's talk. Tommy Fury says Jake Paul is lucky I wasn't in there instead of Woodley. All right, Yellow Belly. Tommy Fury has thrown down the gauntlet to Jake Paul and challenged him to reschedule their planned encounter for the next time out in early 2022. Fury, who was forced out of his clash with the American after suffering a chest infection and fractured rib, admitted he was on the forlorn figure. He was a forlorn figure watching his rival take on and beat his previous opponent, former MMA star Tyron Woodley. All right, whatever. He was in Florida watching this. Paul, now 5-0 as a pro, flattened the former UFC welterweight champion in the 6th round with a spectacular single punch KO. Watching back at home, Fury was wondering what might have been. He was wondering what might have been had he been in there opposite the boxer YouTube phenomenon. I'm not good, to be honest. I have not gone on social media since I posted the video explaining why the fight is off. Fury exclusively told Dev Sani on the Unibet Lowdown. I've probably been at the lowest point I've ever been in my entire life. I've never felt or experienced anything so low. You know, it's weird about these Furies. They can't just be moping around the house and say, hey, you know what, I'll be all right. They got to go in this deep depression. It might be something hereditary there. I don't know what's going on. Imagine having everything you ever dreamt of and then having it ripped away from you through no fault of your own. It's like a bitter pill to swallow. The chest is one thing, but having a rib break too. And even now, I don't think I've really swallowed that pill, and I don't think I will because it was such a massive, easy night for me. Despite the brutal finish of the fight, the 7-0 Fury was resoundingly unimpressed by what he witnessed and insists it is now time for Paul to cease calling out and fighting opponents with a non-boxing pedigree. I think it shows what sort of place you are in when the commentator says, this is pretty hard to watch now. And the joking between the commentators asking who won that round. Well, nobody. That went on for well more than half of the fight. It was very upsetting for me and to sit there and watch it. I know if I had been there that night, I wouldn't have been going 6 or 7 rounds or whatever it was. For the first 4 or 5 rounds, the guy didn't throw a punch. They were just wrestling each other. So for me to sit here and watch that, it was meant to be my night, my time. That should have been me in Tampa Bay, Florida, in front of thousands of people. And it will be me. I do believe my time will come. Me and Frank are trying to figure out the next date for ourselves and to get that fight rescheduled because that is the fight I want next. To hear him after the fight calling out all these MMA people, I don't get what he's trying to achieve with these UFC people. He wants to be a boxer, so doesn't he? So fight a boxer. Stop calling out all these wrestlers and non-boxers. Okay, I'll agree with that. I think he is very lucky that it wasn't me in there instead of Tyron Woodley. I'm trying to give him a bit more credit, but I just can't. People who come out and don't do anything against me get put to sleep. That's the article. Here's my opinion. Tommy, shut up. Just shut up. Your freaking father been on a tirade on social media. I did a video on it. Y'all were kicking and screaming about how Paul didn't want to take VADA testing, and you could test your Fury any day out of the week. It's weird how the Furies all of a sudden are adamant about drug testing. Y'all already know how I feel about the Furies. Here's the deal. Tyson seems to have had all the talent inside the ring. Huey's not as good as Tyson, and you are not as good as Huey. We saw you fight, my man. Jake Paul knocks you sideways. I firmly believe that you ducked that fight because they felt, yo, man, you're not going to get knocked out with the Fury name. No. We're going to postpone the fight, or we're just going to cancel. Was it canceled or postponed? No, I think it was canceled. You pulled out. And if you don't get a payday, you don't get the payday. So you're talking from the sidelines right now. I don't believe you because of your last name. How about that? So you got that going on. I don't believe you because of the cloth you're cut from, because of your bloodline. I don't believe you, dude. I don't. Your father was just screaming about VADA testing. Then you got a chest infection and broken ribs. How'd that happen? Who hit you in the body to break your ribs? Chest infection. Do you got the COVID? The Omicron or whatever it is now? You got that new one? I don't know. Maybe Frank is like, you know what? You got to show me something in these camps that doesn't involve getting your freaking ribs broken. You don't beat Jake Paul. And by the way, sidebar, don't any real boxing fan be mad at Jake Paul. The Paul brothers walked through the front door and did their thing because we're sitting back waiting on, Bud and Errol to get it together. We're fresh off the heels of Fury and Wilder chasing him around all of 2020, trying to get the fight done. Prior to that, it was Wilder and AJ, never happened. And while all those shenanigans was going on, the Paul brothers walked right through the front door of the bank and made a withdrawal. They ain't robbed it, they made a withdrawal. Right under our noses. So don't get mad at them. Tell your favorite fighter to get a fight done, and we ain't got to worry about, who is this? Tommy Fury? We ain't got to worry about him. That's going to be a main event. That's going to be a pay-per-view. They're not expecting a competitive fight. They're expecting, and listen carefully, at this point, Jake Paul to get into the ring with whoever and knock whoever out like he did Tyron Woodley. He has become a high-paid pay-per-view butterbean. You remember Butterbean? And shout out to Eric Butterbean Esch. He wasn't like a real boxer. He was a sideshow. And he had some talent, but he was a sideshow. You watch Butterbean fight because you knew whoever he was fighting, there was a 90% chance he was going to knock them silly. Okay? But you saw what happened when he got in the ring with a real boxer. Larry Holmes. Look at it. It's on YouTube somewhere. And then old Larry Holmes outboxed Butterbean. That's what happens when you have a sideshow guy that has above average talent, but he fights a guy that's skilled. Bean couldn't catch him. Now, Jake Paul, from what I've heard, is taking the sport seriously. But is he top tier talented? No. You can tell by who he's fought. They count that Nate Robinson fight. They're counting this Tyron Woodley fight. They're counting that fat MMA guy he knocked out. They're counting that. Hey, man, fine. Get your money, Jake. Get your money. I am not mad at you. Get your bread. Further proof that the sport of boxing needs to get it together. And while you're at it, You know what I want? If Jake is going to take it serious, he said anytime, anyone, anywhere. There's a fighter by the name of Kendall Gill, retired NBA superstar. And he's about that action, been calling your name. Tommy, why don't you call up Kendall Gill? And y'all have a talk, and he can tell you how to beat this guy. Do that. Because I've seen you fight, Tommy, and you don't have any of the talent that Tyson has or Huey has. You don't have it. You're a young kid. You have all your hair. Milk that. You got the good hair genes, I guess. You're a reality show star. Do that. You got a nice physique on you. I guess you're good looking according to whatever standards. Stick to that. Stay the hell out the ring. Just because your family fights or whatever, that might not be your destiny. Don't even play with this thing. Jake Paul's going to knock you silly. But I'm petty. I want to see it. Whatever. Bronx on deck.